more important than good sleep, and it's probably time you upgraded yours as I have with our sponsor Brooklyn Bedding. Brooklyn Bedding directly, and they offer 100 ERS. Go make sure it's. No, do you think black people suffer from crime? Do you
I think
they are
everybody
also
suffers from crime? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would argue, and perhaps I'm wrong, but that's never happened before, that a black person isn't killed because of the color of their skin. They're going to be killed because there's some other drug dealing debt for them to deal with in inner city Chicago.
What the fuck? Hang on. Let's hear that again, because that sounded really racist to me. Like, that inferred that black people won't be killed because they're black. They'll be killed because of they're addicted to drugs, and there's a drug dealer owes money, or there's a drug war going on between black people. Like, I don't think he would be able to say that if he wasn't mixed race. The fact that your dad's a chess player, I'm going to start understanding you a bit more.
That young girl was killed because she was white. It was a hate crime, and she was targeted.
We don't actually know that.
Of course we know that.
No.
I'll show you how we know that.
No. I know what you're going to say, because I've already debated it. The reality of the situation, you had a severely mentally ill, probably schizophrenic.
I don't give.
I'm a schizophrenic, by the way, Pierce, before you go anywhere. We're not all bad guys.
I'm about to tell you.
People are mentally
let's
ill.
deal with some facts. Then you can.
I'm not being funny, Andrew Tate. You have a mental illness that you might want to get checked out. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to ruin the surprise. But put it this way: no one's brain is wired perfectly. No one's.
Let's deal with some facts. Then you can give me your opinion. That's how this works, right? He is heard on tape saying, "I got the white girl." Okay, that suggests a potential racial motivation.
Potentially.
Yeah, okay, but we don't actually know. And I do think, as I've said...
I do believe it was a racist attack, though.
Publicly, I do think the mainstream media has behaved in a very hypocritical manner if that had been the other way round and you'd had a white man killing a beautiful young black girl and saying, "I got the black girl," it would have instantly been a huge story covered by mainstream media.
American cities would have rioted. There would have been deaths in the hundreds.
In a very aggressive manner. The fact that this was ignored for several days was an indication to me that there was a decision taken.
Prejudice.
Yeah, so I think there was a clear bias exposed in the way it was ignored. So I would agree with you about that. But I do think it's important to point out this guy had been in and out of prison 14 times, should never have been let out, but is clearly mentally ill, probably schizophrenic. We don't actually...
I'm a schizophrenic, by the way. That doesn't excuse his behaviour. Just because you hear voices in your head that no one else hears doesn't mean you listen to them. That is where schizophrenics go wrong. That is how schizophrenics fuck up, is they listen to the voices. But the problem is sometimes the voices are so loud, they can't do anything but hear them. You could blast music as... There was ancient kings who had schizophrenia who used to hire out orchestras to play music all day long to try and drown out the sound of voices in their mind. Trust me, it's like torture sometimes. It's not easy. But not all schizophrenics are violent. So this person was already a violent individual. He'd been in prison loads of times. So his schizophrenia has nothing to do with it, realistically. So it's just an element that you just keep putting in that I don't think should have anything to do with it, personally speaking. But it is a detail, but it gives the idea that we're all these horrible, violent criminals, and we're not. I've never been a violent person in my life. And to even have any sort of association with it, I take it as an insult.
Actually know what motivated him to kill this poor Ukrainian
woman.
Do. And the reason it's important is that once we do establish more information and more facts...
He didn't look around for a different victim, let's put it that way.
We can make a more considered opinion. One of the issues I have with you, Andrew, and a lot of other people, is that there's always a rush to judgment. And the problem with rushes to judgment is later information may contradict what you're feeling in the moment. I remember
like he's blaming the left wing for the death of Charlie Kirk, but it turns out he's from a MAGA family, which is a right-wing family. But we don't know his ideology, but he's from a family that has this ideology on the right, and he was blaming the left.
The riots that erupted after.
It's dangerous to go around pointing fingers at people. That's what we're saying. Very dangerous to go around pointing fingers at people, and I try not to. And I might have done it in the past. I might even do it in the future at some point, but it is very dangerous, and people shouldn't do it without knowing for sure. If you know for sure, point the finger. But otherwise, no, you shouldn't point fingers.
We had a young black boy killing those poor white girls, right? There was a rush to judgment that he'd come in illegally on a boat on the south coast of the UK. It turned out that wasn't the case. So I believe in waiting for facts and information and then casting a judgment. And I think my criticism of you in these situations is you have immediately decided that was the motivation, therefore it's a racist take.
But he has judged that based on the video evidence, and I have judged it the same, Piers. Obviously, there might be further information to come to light, but he didn't look around for a different victim. He had clearly chosen his target was that girl. It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to attack someone, bam. He didn't look around for anyone else. It was her, right? And he then said, I got that white girl. So it was a targeted attack because of the white girl. But it could have been the schizophrenic voice telling him to do it, and then he's done what the schizophrenic voice told him to do. Yes. So it's just difficult. It's difficult. But he still targeted a white girl specifically and said so. So it's very difficult to sit here and say there isn't a racist element when we have video evidence that seems to suggest there is.
Hate crime, and that's it. And I would argue to you, why don't you give it a bit of time? Why don't you wait for more information and make a more considered opinion?
Okay, first things first, if we're going to talk about waiting for information, you shouldn't have told me that Israel was not committing a genocide on October 8th. You've been proven wrong. That's the first thing. The second thing, he said, I got that white girl. You're going to pretend that doesn't matter as if it's not proven.
I didn't say it didn't matter.
Third thing,
I said it suggests a racial motivation.
Everybody who stabs somebody is mentally ill. This mentally ill bullshit, I don't know where this has come from, where someone's a criminal, but they're mentally ill. Every single person who commits murder is mentally ill. Every single person who commits...
No, they're not. That's wrong. That's wrong. Not everyone who commits murder is mentally ill. That is just wrong. Some of them just have a vendetta or a revenge against someone for something or whatever. Some of them have a death wish, you know. Some of them let their anger get the better of them and did something foolish. That doesn't mean these people have mental disabilities. You're talking absolute shite. Absolute fucking shite, Andrew Tate.
Necrophilia is mentally ill.
I would agree that necrophilia is mentally ill. I'd agree with that. But I would also think polygamy is, but you're a polygamist. So is polygamy multiple wives? I can't remember. I think so.
Single person who believes they can get in and out of a bank with money without getting caught has some kind of mental disorder. They're all
No, they're not. Some of them just are desperate. Some of those people are just desperate men in desperate situations. And they don't have mental illnesses. You're talking absolute rubbish, Andrew Tate. Absolute rubbish.
Mentally ill. I don't care about mentally ill. And here's the final nail.
You have a mental illness, Andrew Tate. You should care. You either have ADHD, autism, or you have some stroke of narcissism, or you're a narcissist, okay? You yourself have mental health problems. You have a mental illness. That's why when someone says something to correct you, you go on a tyrant and a rampant rage to try and overcome it. Because you can't stand to be seen as socially inadequate in any way, shape or form. And that means you can't accept being wrong. And the only way you become a smart man is by accepting when you are wrong and learning. And unfortunately, there are men like you out there who just literally have this fundamental physical inability to accept when they are wrong and try and use all the tools at their disposal to get out of it and distract everyone from the fact they were wrong. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work, but you think it does, and we get sick of it and just let you think it does. It doesn't work. You yourself have a mental illness, Andrew Tate. I'm sorry. You do. You need to seek help. You have delusions like the rest of us for a start.
In the coffin to your asinine argument, sir. Why did he not stab anyone else on the bus? Because he was already on a bus with 4 people and he didn't touch them. If he's so mental, if he can't control his mind, why didn't he stab any of those? Is it because everyone else on the bus was black? The first white person he sees, he kills and says, I got that white girl. And you don't believe that's enough proof for a court of law to determine that was a racially motivated attack?
It wouldn't be enough proof at the moment for a court of law, no. Absolutely, I believe that. But that's because I've covered many court cases and you haven't. No, as a journalist, I just prefer...
As a defendant, you've been to court more than him, Andrew Tate, not as an observer. And I will have you know that actually, Piers Morgan's been in court quite a lot over phone hacking scandals and shady journalism, shall we call it?
I prefer in waiting for more information.
Black people on the bus this person, who I will agree was probably deranged, although I give no merit to that, although it does not garner any sympathy from me, he clearly had something wrong with him. This person...
You'd have to have something wrong with you to kill an innocent man and shoot them dead. Yes.
Person was radicalized by a leftist media.
But radicalization is not the same as mental illness. That's the thing. A radical Islamic terrorist is not someone who's mentally unwell. They've been brainwashed. So, like, brainwash and hypnotism are not mental illnesses. They're a state that might be confused as a mental illness, I accept. But brainwashing and hypnosis that people use to radicalize people is not mental illness. I'm sorry, you're doing a false equivalency, a false comparison here.
Media machine, which blames every single thing on white people, which says that white people are the devils, that everything white people have done is wrong, that their entire history is wrong, and that they deserve the bad things that happen to them.
You have no idea. You have no idea that he
demonize an entire race endlessly. We're going to end up having a few idiots who act on that.
But Andrew,
and that's what this man did.
But Andrew,
so annoying. Did anyone ever tell you, Andrew Tate, that you're just annoying? Like, you're really, really annoying. You just won't shut up sometimes. If you're going to make a point, if your point is so good, just make it. And then it's done. And move on. Instead of trying to make another 10 points. It's just, you do what I do. You talk too much. Just like me, you talk too much. Except, I don't think women are less.
The media, leftist media are complicit in what happened to this poor young girl.
Actually, you have absolutely no idea if anything you've just said is remotely true.
I have absolute certainty that it is a fact.
None of it. It's not a fact. If it was a fact, we'd all be...
It is a fact.
No, it's not a fact yet. That's the point. This is my point. Again,
the
off you go.
Media has done nothing but
making a series of assumptions.
For as long... Okay, all right. If you want to be smart, let me prove you wrong.
I'm not being smart. I'm just saying it's not a fact.
Once again, this is... Piers, I'm well-versed in you by now. This is easy. Let me ask you a question. If there's an Islamic terror attack, like the London bombings, and then Abu Hamza, Mr. Hook, Captain Hook, he ends up going to jail for a very long time. He didn't blow anything up, but no.
He radicalized people to do it for him.
He was talking about how Islamic terror attacks should happen because he believes that people deserve them because of his personal worldview. He was instigating so that some idiot would listen to him with less brains than him and then go and murder. What is the difference between that and what the leftist mainstream media is doing by constantly demonizing white people constantly and endlessly?
Well,
there's always going to be some who's mentally impaired
Allow me to respond.
Who's going to act upon
Allow me to respond.
We're locking up Islamic extremists for discussing violence against people who are not Muslim. We should also be locking up anybody who's demonizing an entire race, demonizing all of their history, and demonizing them to the point where they cannot get on a bus. They can't get on public transport without worrying about being murdered. And I have a future on this planet where I'm not here. There's a future on this planet where my white daughters exist and I am gone. And they will be victims and targets unless white people start standing up for themselves.
Unfortunately, Andrew Tate, what you need to accept as a father is there will be men and women out there who will wish harm upon your children. Okay? Not because of you, just because people are horrible. They'll try to take advantage of them for whatever it is, money or food or a bed. What you need to understand is you need to give them the tools and ability and understanding to deal with that and to understand it so they can manage it rather than expect it to never happen. Because it doesn't matter which point in humanity you go to in history, whether it was 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago or 500 years ago, men and women have always had to protect themselves from becoming victims of violence. Whether it was wars between countries you didn't even have a knowledge of, or two different cities, or two different tribes. There's always been arguments between people that you have to try not to get involved in. And sometimes, regardless of how much you try to avoid it, you get caught up in, right? And people become victims no matter what the time frame is. So unfortunately, expecting there to never be victims is not a realistic thing. Giving people the tools and understanding to avoid it, I think, is the way. And also trying to stop it from being the case, sure. But I accept as a father, unfortunately, the world is not a nice place. And no matter how much we try to make it a nice place, it's never going to be perfect, as much as we can try. And so there's always going to be a victim. There's always going to be a bad guy. There's always going to be a good guy. Like, it's unfortunately how it is. And so I just hope that by teaching my daughter the right tools and skills, she can attract the right people who will also protect her, and she will protect them. That's how it should be. You teach your children so that they can look after themselves, rather than that they need to be treated like a baby their entire life, surely. I'm just speaking as a father here. You've got far more children than me, obviously, so you must know better than me.
Standing up for their beliefs and standing up for their nations, because you're the only race which is being erased. You're the only one. Nobody is invading and erasing any other race.
What about the Uyghurs in China? What's going on there? Aren't they getting put in internment camps? And well, I suppose they're not getting murdered, but African people get murdered by other African people. Like, South Americans kill other South Americans? What's he on about? What is he on about?
Only you white people. And you seem to sit there and wonder, oh, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that. It doesn't matter. The world is tribal. You're not going to exist much longer if you don't stick up for yourself. And you are clearly targets of an orchestrated campaign.
Oh, we'll exist, all right. Don't you worry about that, Andrew. We'll always exist. We are part of the human genome. So even if you got rid of every human on the planet who was white, even if you did, which I'm not saying is ever going to happen, and I would never suggest it, but even if somehow the world got rid of every white person, right, we're already in the genetic genome of every family on the planet near enough. Like, you could have an entirely black family could have a child born who has issues with the pigment in their skin, where it's not dark, it's entirely white, and they would be an albino black person. You can get them, right? Albino black people. That's us, white people. There'd be black people would just end up giving birth to white people at some point in the future, and they would obviously probably, unfortunately, be shocked. But yeah, I don't think you realise that white people are just albino black people. Like, that's all we are, essentially. So even if you got rid of us all, we're still so deep embedded in the human genetic DNA of all humans that you would just end up reproducing white people eventually anyway. Like, there's no getting rid of us. What are you on about? There's no getting rid of white people. I'm sorry, it's not happening. You put a black man in a cave without any light and sunshine for 20 years and watch how his palms and the bottom of his feet starts turning white. Okay? You can't get rid of us because we are black people who are white. And black people are white people who are black. We are the same human. You just don't understand this because you're fucking stupid.
Campaign. There is a campaign which is designed to demoralize and eradicate you. And there are a few idiots who listen to this campaign and act on it savagely in real time on your public transport systems that you pay for with your taxes.
When you stop shouting.
Let me ask you a question, Pierce.
Well, why don't you just stop shouting for a moment and let me respond?
Pay the majority of taxes to import white people who don't work to replace them? No other race on the planet would commit suicide to this level besides the white man.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
That is because of a loss of identity, that is. That is because of a loss of identity, you know? The truth of the matter is, when you give men no reason to fight because you create such a peaceful, civilized world, they stop fighting. No. Even for life itself. Go figure. But that's part and parcel of a peaceful world. If you give people a peaceful world where they don't have to identify as something to exist, they no longer identify as something to exist, and they have no identity. And so they try and cling to any group that will accept them, like a little teenager trying to be a goth or a Raji or something, you know.
Here to encourage the white man to stand up for himself.
Since you mentioned taxes, you could explain why the police had to seize more than £2 million from your brother for failing to pay tax on revenue from your online
Good question. I agree.
Great way to change subject. Why did the British state try and steal my money? Well, considering the British state, the foreign office...
It's funny because the British state owes me money, and it's far more than you've had taken from you. I can tell you that, Andrew Tate.
Office meddled in a foreign country's prosecution service and wrote them a letter and asked the intelligence services of Romania to get me off the internet. I guess, since I'm a national security threat, all bets are off. Of course they stole my money. Of course they do. They do anything they can to me because they consider me the enemy.
But you avoided paying tax, so you raised the issue of being a taxpayer.
They do.
Well, you raised the issue of being a taxpayer.
They want to get rid of the man who talks about the problem.
All right,
and then the UK doesn't have enough issues.
At some point, you need to stop talking.
Let me ask you a question, sir.
He just doesn't shut up, man. You're so fucking annoying, Andrew Tate. You are no better than the assassin who silenced Charlie Kirk. You don't let people speak. You are trying to silence him with your raised voice and aggression. You're acting like a fascist. You're literally acting no different to the assassin. You're just doing it in a non-violent way. It's no different. Do you not understand the hypocrisy of you being on the show, claiming how it's wrong to try and silence someone for speaking freely, and you're trying to silence Piers Morgan by over-speaking him? It's just like, you're a hypocrite. You're a fucking hypocrite. You're an annoying prick.
Knife crime that's happening in London. All of the blood that's running on the streets. Considering you can't even wear a nice watch in that city anymore. Is it white people or black?
You shouldn't be wearing a nice watch around any major city. You'll be targeted by organised crime. It's not just London. It's just that's the easiest one in London for them to get away with. Because you just take it off their wrist. And they can't be tracked. If it had a tracking chip in it, I don't know why you lot don't have GPS trackers in your watches yet. How the hell you buy a $50,000 watch and it doesn't have a GPS tracker in it is beyond me, because you think diamonds is more impressive than a GPS tracker. Like, how are some of you lot, celebrities, rich guys, walking around with like a $30,000 Rolex on your wrist, and if someone takes it from you, you have no way to find it? Unless someone puts it in a shop somewhere and notices it, and then tells the police, you know, then you might get it back, sure. Or the insurance might cover it, but shouldn't there be like this tracker in it so that no one can remove? And if they did, it would damage the Rolex, so it would be unsellable, right? So what you do is to put a irremovable GPS tracker in it, because it's already a $50,000 watch, you know. I'm sure it doesn't matter if there's an extra $500 on it. Surely you won't care. And they make it hidden so no one can see it. And you'd have to break the watch to get it, so they couldn't sell it. I mean, do I have to work out everything for you guys? You're supposed to be rich, successful people, and you just can't even figure out to put a GPS tracker in a Rolex. Fuck's sake.
People who are doing the stabbing.
Use your brains. Use your brains instead of thinking with that man, you fucking...
Half white, half black. You can't offend me. Just tell me the truth.
And who are most of the victims?
Who's doing all the killing?
And who are most of the victims?
Well, some of them are black. Some of them are white. It doesn't matter.
Actually, the vast majority are black. So your whole argument, the whole argument you've been shouting about, the whole argument you've been shouting about for the last 10 minutes, you've just exposed yourself as being a misleading argument.
Absolutely not. I don't care if black people kill only blacks. I don't care if black people only kill Chinese. Black people shouldn't be killing. There is an issue within the black community which is leading them towards violence. We can discuss whether it's genetic. We can discuss whether it's cultural. We can discuss whether it's systemic. We can discuss that. But it is asinine and ignorant.
By the way, my opinion on why there is more rates of crime in the black communities in America than there is the white communities is because the CIA and the American government in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s pumped massive amounts of dangerous drugs into their communities for drug dealers to sell, to cause disruption and to try and make the white communities look better. And they wanted the black communities to look bad so that they could make the white people look better. Because as you know, racism was still quite rife in the 60s, 70s and 80s. So they pumped loads of heroin, crack cocaine, amphetamines, and various other drugs into all these very populated black communities. So crime became more common. And as a result, generationally, crime was more normal than it would have been. And it's experienced by more people in the black community around them because of this. So it's called a cascade of effects. Because the American government did this, the black community ended up committing more crimes than they would have otherwise. But those crimes were intentional. It was, they had no choice but to commit these crimes sometimes, getting set up by the police and stuff. Otherwise you go to jail, blah, blah, blah. So it's not just black people are bad, is it? It's not like black people are just more violent, because that's not true in the slightest. Black people are no more violent than any other race on the planet. It just so happens to be in these black communities in America, there's a lot more violence than the white communities. And the reason is because of systematic failures by historic American governments because of their racist agendas, essentially. And we're still dealing with those effects today. Unfortunately, Americans will still be dealing with this in 100 years. Scars like that don't heal, my friends. They do not heal. They never do.
To pretend that there is not a culture within the black community which is leading to violence. There clearly is. There clearly is. And that needs to be addressed. I say this as a half black man myself. My father was black. Half of my family is black. But I'm not blind.
You've all heard me talking about Jacked Up Fitness and their incredible all-in-one home gym. It's a perfect solution for people who are short on time and money.
Get your shitty advert off my...
What? Okay.
Get your fucking advert off my... Fucking... adverts. Don't want that,
I
Piers.
said to you that I know that there is a big problem with young black men in London committing knife crime, and the vast majority of the victims of that knife crime are also black. That is just a statistical fact, right? So it just flies slightly in the face of your white genocide nonsense, which I call nonsense because there is no evidence of a white genocide.
Of course there is.
No, there isn't.
Of course there is.
No,
White
there isn't.
people are losing their countries in real time. White people are...
Just one point on the black crime, black youth crime in London with all the knife crime. I blame gang culture. So all the grime music, all the ganglang music, it's all about stabbing people and treating women like prostitutes and being part of a criminal group who do what they want when they want. They don't care about the police, yeah? We're big, tough guys. That's why we wear masks and don't show our face sort of people. Those pussies, right? So that is why it's so bad, I think, personally, in London, is because of it's not black people's culture, right? It's the gangland culture and grime within London. Like the music scene for youths in London is basically every single rapper saying how they stab someone, shoot someone, hit this woman or rob this place and do this to that. Like, when you've got thousands of black young Englishmen listening to shit like that every day and those words every day, you just don't understand some of you because you don't believe in magic, right? But magic is just science we don't understand. So words are like magic. And if you whisper the word stab into a young man's mind 20 times a day for 10 years, and he's even putting earphones in, so he can listen to it more closely, along with a drum beat and some guitars, right? He might think it's cool, and he's like really this cool character, and he's like it's cool music, blah, 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 it's really cool. But actually, slowly but surely, he's getting brainwashed to think that's a normal thing to do, and ends up doing it. But without that music, do you think he would have done it? Words are like magic. And Andrew Tate is one of these men who uses words very toxically. And I have been using words very toxically sometimes, and I try not to. I try to be fair. Harsh, but fair.
Or less percentage of the population of Earth than they've ever been.
Do you even know what genocide means?
Do
you know what genocide means?
They're literally disappearing from the planet, sir.
This may explain why you keep saying genocide about Israel from October the 8th onwards. You said it was a genocide. It may be you don't understand what a genocide actually is.
Of course I do. I very clearly understand what a genocide is.
Well, if you think it's to do with white people in England, you don't understand what genocide is, do you?
That is a genocide. The level of psyop, which has been orchestrated upon the white person to give up all of their love of their history, to believe that all of their ancestors' work doesn't count, to believe that their God-given lands aren't theirs, to believe that they have no right to live in harmony or racial cohesion with anyone around them. The level of psyop that's been inflicted upon the white man is absolutely monumental, perhaps the largest psyop in history.
But you're part of that psyop with your right-left agenda. That's a CIA psyop, because you're actually a centrist who believes in some left-wing views. Like, you want people to have free healthcare, maybe, instead of, having to put their entire family in debt for it or sell the house for it, maybe. Or you don't want children to be slaves who have to work and not get paid, right? That's a left-wing policy. Or maybe you're happy that women have voters' rights. That's a left-wing policy. You also probably are happy that workers have rights, that people get paid fairly, and that when they're off sick, they don't lose their job for it. Just because they got sick with, an illness, they don't lose their job for it in their home, right? They're workers' rights. That's the left-wing policy. So you as a right-wing person, Andrew Tate, are also part of the psyop. You just think you're outside of it, the box, looking in, when you're actually in the box. It's quite funny, really. It's quite funny. We're all in the box. We're all psyoped. You included.
Let me ask you, why did the British Empire give its lands back?
Because of revolt and rebellion.
What do you mean?
Well, the British Empire, the British are the largest empire in history. Why did we give Uganda back or the Caribbean? Why did we give it back?
Because we took a lot of that land to start with.
Because we took it. Because it is their land, given to them by God. This was the assumption that the British state came up with. We can't take someone else's land. It's theirs. It was given to them by God, and they have an ancestral right to that land. So what right does that give the white person to the countries that they settled? What right does that give the white person to England? Because it's his ancestors and his land. He has a God-given right.
If you're so exercised about England, why don't you come and live here?
We both know the answer to that. He'd be arrested as soon as he stepped foot on soil.
I intend on being your prime minister soon, Piers.
Well, you're going to find that quite hard if you're living in Romania.
I'll be the prime minister of the UK.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm trying to be the prime minister of the UK, Andrew Tate. You can't come try to step on my toes now. Who the fuck do you think you are? You're not going to be our prime minister. I'm sorry, but I will, over my dead body. Over my fucking dead body. I can't believe that. I'm going to repeat that. That was so good.
Exercised about England. Why don't you come and live here?
Well, I intend on being your prime minister soon, Piers.
Well, you're going to find that quite hard if you're living in...
What was the party you mentioned there?
Well, I intend on being your prime minister soon, Piers.
Well, you're going to find that quite hard.
The wealth party. The bunch of guys with small penises who need a pot of gold to compensate.
Hard if you're living in Romania.
Oh yeah, they're going to take charge. Are you having a laugh?
Minister of the UK.
No, but you decided to live in another country. You left the country.
I mean, stranger things have happened than Andrew Tate being Prime Minister, but... I mean, I say it all the time, and I think it's insane when I say it. But when he's just said it, that's even more insane. He's not even a British citizen. I mean, I don't have a political party, so it's kind of more insane in that regard. At least he's got a party, I guess. He's probably got a higher chance than me.
You purport to be incredibly concerned about how we spend our taxes, but you yourself didn't pay the taxes that you owed, according to the authorities. That's why they took
According to
2
the
million.
corrupt
Okay, you
authorities,
denied.
yes.
You deny. I just assume you deny every wrongdoing you've ever been accused of, and you may well be the victim of the greatest miscarriage of justice ever seen in the history of mankind.
I think that was Jesus Christ.
Or maybe you're just a bullshitter and you are guilty. I don't know.
If I was guilty, why am I not in jail, Pierce?
I don't know. We'll see, right? I believe in letting justice do its course, right? But we'll see, right? But on the relation to the...
Was Julian Assange guilty of rape?
Let me just come back to a point I
No,
want to
let
make.
me ask you, because
Let me point
years
out,
he was a
I'm
rapist,
actually
he
doing
was
the
in
interview.
Belmarsh, and then all
Let
of a
me
sudden he
ask
got
you
let
about...
out, and no one talks
I
about
want
his
to make
imaginary
a point.
victim
I want to
anymore.
make a
Turns
point.
out they just made it up to get rid of the guy because he was a problem for the Matrix.
Let me just... Yes.
Here he goes again. You know when you've got like a dog and they have like the mad 5 minutes where they just run round like a hooligan for like 2 minutes for absolutely no reason, like sort of thing. The what do they call them? I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, that's what Andrew Tate's like. Every time someone points out when he's wrong, I think he has bipolar. I think he might have bipolar disorder. You seriously need to get it checked out, Andrew, because if I'm honest, right, if you manage to find out what your mental illness is and work out its problems, you would be a much better man for it. You wouldn't be a less of a man because you have this problem. You would be a greater man for accepting your issue and making it better. Whereas you see it as this weakness, whereas it could be your stepping stone to greatness. Ask anyone who was the smartest person in the world in history, and you'll find they all had mental disabilities. OCD, ADHD, autism, bipolar disorder, depression, even. A lot of them had depression.
Raped someone in
Let's
Sweden.
talk about
Who's
the Matrix in a moment.
Who's his victim?
Okay.
Oh, and she never existed.
Okay.
As soon as he deleted WikiLeaks and agreed to their little plea bargain, she was gone.
I
Very
wanna-
much like my victims never existed.
I want to make the point to
made
you.
off.
I
It
wanna
is a
make the-
scam, and you should know better by now.
Okay, I want to make the point to you that when you talk about the issue of the Ukrainian woman killed in the train incident in the United States, that actually when you go off in your huge rant that this person was motivated by a left-wing agenda of hating white people and blah, 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 it reminds me of what you did in the UK after that young black boy killed those 3 white girls. Is that
I can be right twice.
Is that you
Piers.
made...
In fact, I'm right.
You see what I mean? Like, a bipolar person, right, has an inability to admit they're wrong. Right? They really, really just cannot stand it. They can't. They would rather like do anything than admit they're wrong. And when the time that they're talking about here, he made out it was this certain black immigrant who had committed this crime, and it turned out it wasn't, if I remember correctly. So if you notice, like Andrew Tate literally has no ability to admit when he's wrong. Like he has no ability.
But you were wrong there in the assumption.
wasn't wrong.
You were wrong in the assumptions you made that he was an illegal migrant come over on the small boats.
No.
Right? You were
my
wrong.
assumption was that he shouldn't be there.
Fine. That's fine. He was born in. He was
you
born
must
in
be-
the
See what I mean? I remember reading the post. He said it was an illegal migrant.
UK.
guest
You might have a
in
view.
nations that you are not native to.
My point
You
is.
behave well as a
my
guest.
point is, you rushed to judgment and you were wrong. And you're rushing to judgment with this guy, and I don't know the truth, and nor do you. What I
And neither do I. I, like these two, do not know.
What I do think is it was a heinous murder, a disgusting incident, and that the mainstream media failed the American public in refusing to report it properly. And even now when they're reporting it, they're trying to do it through the prism of right-wing MAGA people trying to turn it into a race row, when in fact the guy is on tape saying, I got the white girl. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about his background and whether he did this for racially motivated reasons. And the tape is certainly a part of that investigation. But I think when you rush to judgment and you have your platform, it's incredibly dangerous, Andrew. I get so many young men in particular teenage boys, early 20s, who come up and ask me about you and our interviews and what I actually think about you. You know that. You have a big influence and a big reach. But you
Perhaps
talk...
the largest.
But you... Yeah, all right. But
Oh, bless you.
they hear you make a big rant about protecting women's rights and so on, right? But only today, on your X account, to millions of people, you've said this: stop letting women vote. Stop giving women
Correct.
position as judges. Stop
Correct.
giving women...
Okay, so he doesn't believe in the left-wing ideology of letting women vote. So does he want children to be slaves as well, who do manual labour for free?
in political appointments. As soon as
Correct.
only men run
Does he believe in forced child labour?
government and law, all the problems disappear. Women
Correct.
now understand that without male protection, they're nothing but victims. You are not a girl
Correct.
boss.
Oh, every woman's a victim now, apparently. Every woman's a victim.
There is no such thing. Crying for Iriana is a wake-up call for females. And honestly, I don't think I've ever read a more ludicrously misogynistic, hypocritical load of claptrap
Well,
in my
let me
life.
answer you
How
then,
can you
Piers.
pretend to be standing up for women's
Let me
rights
answer
when
you,
actually
Piers.
what you want to do is subjugate women of all their rights? How do
No.
those two things sit without
Yeah, you tell him, Pierce. You fucking tell him, mate.
you
are
being a brazen
conflating-
hypocrite?
You are conflating subjugation with protection. It turns out that it's the big, evil, mean misogynists who say that his woman shouldn't have to work in a pizza parlor, or that she can't defend herself on a bus, or that she shouldn't be walking outside alone. I should go with her. It's us big, evil, mean misogynists who actually care
You
about
don't even
women, 'cause
want women to
why?
vote.
It is the
You don't
female
even want...
He doesn't want women to vote. He literally thinks you shouldn't have a say on how the world works. You shouldn't. Your opinion on how the world works is so invalid that you're not as valuable as the dumbest man. Like, he thinks the smartest woman and her vote is less valuable than the dumbest man's. Just bear that in mind when you have a man who thinks women shouldn't be able to vote, that they think even the dumbest man, therefore, should be able to vote as well. Like, they never mentioned that, do they? So they have a problem with a smart woman voting, but not a dumb man. Yeah, so you're a misogynist, aren't you? You're a fucking misogynist. Like, why would a woman not be allowed to vote? Why? She's a human being. This is the problem. You distinguish, Andrew Tate, a woman and a man as two different things, which they are, but they are the same thing, different. That's where you go wrong. Men and women are both human beings. One's got an innie, one's got an outie. Just like belly buttons, alright? It's that simple. And one gets more estrogen, one gets more testosterone. Which means one's more emotional, and it sidetracks them from their logic, and that's not really their fault, because as you will know yourself from losing friends in tragic accidents, emotions can sidetrack you. We know this as men, and we have to give women the understanding of that. And those that do, women appreciate it, alright? They appreciate it. But you gotta be nice about it. You can't always be a dick, and you can't always be nice, that's the problem. So, yeah, fine. But you're a misogynist, Andrew Tate. Absolute misogynist. You think your daughters shouldn't be allowed to say how the country they live in works. You absolute bellend.
Want to
It's
give
the male
women the right to
feminists,
vote?
The liberals, the Democrats, the idiots who are going to sit there and pretend that a woman should be able to make her own money and take a public transport
Yeah,
alone.
she should.
and
She
sit
should,
next to
yeah.
A black guy.
A woman should be able to take her own public transport. She should be able to work her own job. She shouldn't face violent attacks, 100%. But a woman should be able to work her own job. She should be able to go home alone on the bus. And she should be allowed to vote. And anything else is ridiculous. It's insanity. We're not going back to the Middle Ages. Fuck off.
And not worry about it. All of their worldviews led to her murder. I remember when I spoke to you on October 8th.
Hang on. Has he just blamed women for her dying on that butt? Are you... you must be one stupid motherfucker.
Worry about it. All of their worldviews led to her murder.
I cannot believe it! You are one stupid motherfucker.
I remember when I spoke to you on October 8th, and I said why
absolute
women don't have
nonsense.
jobs. You
It's
said, why don't your
nonsense.
women have jobs?
What
My
you're
answer
saying,
is simple, because if they
what
have a
you're
job,
saying
they
is
might
absolute.
get stabbed to death.
Yeah, but Andrew,
because society is
Andrew,
broken down.
Andrew,
We
what-
built society
Andrew,
specifically.
What you're
And women gave birth to you so that you could do that. Without a woman, you don't exist, Andrew Tate. You literally do not exist without a woman. Without your mother's vagina, you are nothing.
the
saying-
reason that women used to have to walk around with a permanent male chaperone.
Yeah.
And society was built so that women could go outside and interact with the world
Yeah.
without a chaperone.
Yeah.
Society was built by evil, misogynistic men. And then
Yeah.
these feminists came along and destroyed it all. I believe in protecting women because I don't believe they can fight. If that makes me a misogynist, so be it.
No, the
Women
reason
like
you're-
men who
okay,
protect
let me
them.
respond.
No woman wants to be
No,
seen
no.
as a man's equal
Andrew,
in the realm of martial
reason-
combat.
no,
sir.
no, the
And me
reason-
saying that is
See what I mean? Bipolar. He's 100% bipolar. I'm telling you now, Andrew Tate, you've got either bipolar or autism. You need to go get this diagnosed and dealt with. You can't keep taking out your mental illness on other people like this just because you can't accept when you're wrong. You need to learn to accept when you're wrong, or you'll never become a better man. I'm going to make a cup of tea.
The
women
reason,
who vote for these
the
DEI
reason I'm going to
policies,
try and talk.
Women who vote for liberalism.
I'm going to try and talk.
Women who vote for open
Let me
borders.
talk.
A female judge let
Yes,
him out.
okay.
And this is a wake-up call to all women to listen to the bad
Oh,
guys.
they've had the
because
wake-up
the
call.
bad guys want
Okay.
you alive. And
Yes.
the good guys,
Stop talking.
the wimps, want you stabbed in the neck
Okay,
and dead.
stop talking. So you, again, just to repeat, you said this today in your rant. Stop letting women vote. Stop giving them positions as judges. Stop giving
Correct.
them political appointments. As soon as
Correct.
only men run government
Correct.
and law, all the problems disappear.
Correct.
Women now understand that without
Correct.
male protection, they're nothing but victims. I can't
Correct.
think, do you even understand how misogynist that is?
Well, let me ask you a question. Who votes for liberalism? Who votes for soft on crime? Who votes for open borders? Who votes for DEI? By and large, male or female, which sex is it?
Wow, you're really doubling
Female.
down, aren't you?
What was the gender of the judge who let this man out his 14th time in court? Male or female?
Wow.
Female.
Wow.
Why was this woman going to work and ride in the tram late alone at night instead of thinking this is dangerous or I need to find a man to take care of me? Why was she doing this? Because she probably believed that she can go and fend for herself and deal with herself out in the world. She doesn't need male protection. Bad things happen when we ignore reality. I'm not a misogynist and I'm not a racist. I am a realist, sir. I am a realist. White people are being subjugated
So you're
and
blaming,
genocide.
you're blaming.
He's a fundamentalist because no matter what facts and proof and truths he's confronted with, he refuses to move his position. So it doesn't matter how many times you tell him a fact. It doesn't matter how much truth and evidence he sees in front of him. He will fundamentally stick to his positions and never move. And it's because I think he's got bipolar disorder. He literally has an inability to admit when he's wrong. And that's why he's never improved as a man since that moment. And I hate to say it. It might actually make you all feel sorry for him. But it is most likely from when he lost a friend he really cared about. And I mean really cared, like closest friend. Most likely in a tragic accident. Maybe a violent one. And I am sorry for that, Andrew. I'm not trying to make light of it. But I think his mind is still stuck at that stage from his life. And it's unable to move past it. And this is the faulty wiring. Because until he learns to accept when he's wrong and learn from it, he'll never be able to go out of this error, Andrew Tate, error, Andrew Tate, error. That's basically what he's doing. He's glitching. He's fucking glitching.
That is clear.
So just to
And
be
women
clear,
need to
all right,
understand that
stop
it
shouting.
takes a bad guy
Okay.
to beat a bad guy.
Okay.
And the big
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't take a bad guy to beat a bad guy. It takes a good guy to stop a bad guy. It's
evil, mean, toxically masculine misogynist. Let me tell you something. I'm the only guy on that tram who would have killed that guy before he got off of it.
Yeah.
and you would have spent the rest of your life in jail. Your kids would have never seen you again. You would have never ever seen the light of day. People would have thanked you. You would have got a pat on the back, you know. You would have been the hero. You would have redeemed yourself from the charges, and maybe that would have made it worth it. But your kids wouldn't have seen you for about 10 years. would they have said it was worth it? Or would they have said that you should have rang the police? I say that as a father.
I would have took the knife off him and stabbed him in his neck.
Sure.
Only me. No one else did.
Very
so it takes a
macho.
back-
Only I could have stopped him because I am the Andrew Tate. Only I could have stopped that man because I am the alpha.
bad guy to beat a bad guy.
Very
son.
macho of you, but what you're basically inferring is that she brought this on herself.
No, what I'm inferring
You are.
is that society was built to protect
That was very naughty, Piers. Very naughty.
women. And when you protect something, you must restrict something. We have taken that restriction, we've taken that protective instinct, conflated it into subjugation. You did it at the beginning of this questioning.
Yeah.
You tried to say
when
we
you remove
subjugate
a
them,
woman's
instead
right to
we built an
vote,
entire
when you
society
remove a
around
woman's right to
protecting
work
women.
and
if
vote
that is ignored,
and all
if
these
that is
other
damaged
things,
and
you are
decimated,
reducing
then
women
females are
to
prey.
your chattel.
The society we live in now, women are permanent prey every single time they leave the house because of all of these liberal, femme-minded,
And why do you
garbage,
think-
girl feels.
Okay.
You know, you see, I don't know if you have seen. Like, I did point out every time he's proven wrong by a factual bit of information or very clear evidence, he goes into this glitching mode where he rants and rants and rants and doesn't stop. He keeps talking and talking. He doesn't let them speak. He doesn't shut up. Simply because he has this inability to admit he's wrong. Unfortunately, a lot of men actually have this problem. A lot of men. It's not Andrew Tate is not alone in this. It's actually a very common thing. Women have it as well.
Girl boss.
And why do you
Netflix,
think?
And sadly, these humans, they end up being lesser versions of themselves because they never learn, and so they don't become better versions of who they are. So Andrew Tate could be a better man. But if you told him that, he would deny it. He'd be like, oh, I'm already a very good man. I can't be any better. Like, we all know we could be better. But that's a classic case. If anyone, try it. If you don't believe it, and you know Andrew Tate, try it. Ask him. Do you not think you could be a better man? And I guarantee you, he does the glitching. He'll glitch. Guarantee it.
Piers Morgan.
And what?
Bullshit.
Okay. And
it
why
needs
do you
to end.
think?
The
And
women are
Andrew
gonna
Tate.
keep dying.
Andrew Tate, why do you think it is that people think you're a misogynist?
Nobody
It's
thinks.
probably because he says loads of misogynistic things about women. Like they shouldn't be allowed to vote and work.
That.
You don't understand why, do you? You can't even get it as you spew this stuff.
Oh, I understand that there's weaponized virtue. I understand that.
Oh, it's not
liberals-
weaponized.
Oh, it's weaponized virtue to want women to have the same rights as men. That's weaponized virtue, is it? Wow. To want my daughter to grow up with the same rights that I grew up with is apparently fake virtue, huh? This guy's so stupid, man. How the fuck did he influence millions of young men is just beyond me. His editors must be the key here. His video editor must have been the key.
I understand, sir.
You don't
that the
believe in
same
women's
media-
rights.
I understand the
You
same
don't
media
believe in women's
who
rights.
refuse to report on this woman dying.
Yeah.
Say I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, but you're
I
trying to
understand
portray
that.
yourself.
I just don't care.
You're trying
because
to
they're
portray.
clearly
Okay, stop
corrupt.
shouting. You're trying to portray yourself as the savior of women. But
No,
you at the same
I know.
time.
No, I'm not.
You
No,
at the
I'm
same
not.
time you want to remove all their rights. You're a
I'm
despicable
trying to say to you-
misogynist. That's all you are.
Protection. What I'm trying to say to you is that protection comes with a degree of restriction.
No. Self-protection is your right. You shouldn't have no... A woman should be allowed to exist in a world where she has the right to at first defend herself and then need a man if she needs help. The same as any man does, right? So if you get a violent attacker, you have the right of self-defense, but you also have the right to call the police and get them charged with a crime. So, I mean, does he not want women to have the right to defend themselves? And that a man has to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
That is the basic
They can't
premise of
vote.
protection.
They can't
Firstly.
work. They can't have
Secondly,
meaningful
if you're going to
jobs.
say
They
that
can't
the
help
media
run
saying I'm a
governments.
misogynist,
What
considering
can
the
women
media is
do in
working
your
with the
world?
deep state to try and
What
get me
can
off the
women do
internet,
in your
and it's
world,
the same
Andrew?
media who won't even.
he's so annoying, honestly. He's literally one of the most annoying. I have no idea why all these young men follow him. Like, what is wrong with them? Have they never seen a normal human man? Like, no normal man speaks this way. Only, like, someone with a mental illness. I'm sorry, I've spoke like this when I was mentally ill. I know from experience he has a mental illness. And I think it's bipolar disorder. He can't admit when he's wrong.
Report about this poor girl's
What?
killing
Yeah, never
is
mind
somehow
poor
an
girl.
ode on me,
What
as
about the way
opposed to
you're
using
talking
it
about
to believe
women?
Liars.
What
is
about the way
incredible.
What about the way you're talking about women?
How am I talking about them?
In the
I'm saying
most-
that women voting and women not
Yeah.
listening to men or letting men protect them,
Yeah.
or female judges put us in this position.
Yeah.
That is true.
So he's saying that women are the reason we're in this situation. He's blaming women. What he doesn't seem to understand is all of his points about women are built on this lie that women cause problems, don't solve them, and women are the problem, sort of thing, if that makes sense. All of his things are built on this ideology that men are not the problem, it's women. Women are the problem, they shouldn't be allowed to vote, and if you put all men in charge, we wouldn't have all these problems. That's basically what he's saying, right?
You think
I'm
women
saying
should
that it's
be?
a man's job.
You think
to
women
build
should stay at home, do you?
society, and if we
Women
do
should
that,
stay at
we
home,
have
yeah?
a free control. Here's I
Should women
tell
stay
my
at home,
daughters
Andrew?
what time to be home. Is
Okay.
it because I'm a horrible misogynist and I
No.
subjugate them,
Should
or is
women-
it because I care about them?
Right, do you believe that women should stay at home
I
and just
asked
be?
you a question and you've asked a
No,
lot.
I'm asking you the
I tell my
questions.
daughters what time to
I'm
be home.
asking you the
Is
questions.
it because I'm a misogynist?
You can
or
shout
is it
as
because I
much
love
as you
them?
want. It won't make any difference.
So
Do you
are you gonna answer
believe?
the question?
Do you believe a woman's place is at home? No work, no job, no right to vote, no right to be in a government, no right to be a judge. Do you believe all those things?
I believe a woman has a different set of skills than a man. And I believe that when it comes to the protection of society, and society is primarily the protection of women and children, that is the duty of men.
Duty.
Decisions around that, e.g. judge, should be made by men. Enforcement, e.g. police, should be made by men. And the best prevention, the best cure, is to avoid something happening in the first place. Therefore, restrictions should be made by a man who cares about the woman. That is why my daughters have a curfew. Not because I'm a misogynist, not because I want to subjugate them, not because I'm an evil person, because I care about them and I love them, and I protect them by keeping them away from possible scenarios.
By keeping them
And removing their right to vote.
and trying to run in
By
like
keeping them
Rambo
at home,
when the
locked
scenario's
away.
already begun.
Yeah, by keeping them at home.
Yeah.
Yes, if I want my daughter to be safe,
What
she
are
has to
their
be home at a
skills?
certain time.
What
if that
skills-
makes me a bad person,
what
Piers,
skills-
you can call up the rest of the
what
liberal
skills do
media,
you want-
the
what-
same media who don't report
Okay,
on a woman getting
okay, I
stabbed
hear
in the
you.
neck,
I
and you
hear
can do
you.
a big expose
I hear you.
about how Andrew
I
Tate's
hear
daughters
you.
have
And
a
what
curfew.
skills?
Go
What
for it.
skills? What skills do you want your daughters to have?
I want my daughters, very much like the other women in my life, to be as happy as possible, to feel protected,
And what
to feel
skills?
safe, and I want them to focus on the number one thing they're good at.
What's
I
that?
really pray that my daughters have children with a man they love, and
So he's decided that he expects his daughters to have children before they have even decided they want children. Like, as much as I understand women's biological, reason for existing is to produce children, you also need to understand that it is up to a woman if she wants to or not. And I have the same thoughts about my daughter. I hope she grows up, finds someone who really cares about her, and she cares about them, and they protect each other and love each other, and she has her own family, and she protects her kids and teaches them the way I have taught her. I could only hope that she could be happy and healthy and have that life. That would be fantastic, right? But she could never... I would never say she shouldn't be allowed to work. But she shouldn't have to choose that. That's not the only option. She can do other things with her life if that's what she wants to do. As much as I would like her to have a family, it's not my life. When she's 18, 21, 25, it's not up to you, Andrew. And it never will be. It'll be her life and her choices. And you need to understand and accept that now, rather than dealing with it later.
SAP and focus on motherhood. I think that's the best thing for my bloodline. I think it's the best thing for their...
Yeah, it's the best thing for him. Exactly. Your entire hope and wishes for your daughter culminated in that one reason right there.
focus on the number one thing they're good at.
What's
I
that?
really pray that my daughters have children with a man they love, ASAP, and focus on motherhood. I think that's the best thing for my bloodline.
Yeah, he cares about his bloodline. And as much as I would love for my bloodline to be continued, of course, and that's what men are programmed for, that is our biological programming, right? The whole point of being human is to overcome your animal programming and to evolve into a higher state of being. So, that means even though you might want to, sleep with some random woman, you control yourself. Even though you might want to punch this idiot in the face who's been a right stupid bellend, you don't punch him in the face. Even though you might want to drink the entire bottle of whiskey, you only have a little bit and control yourself. The journey of a human man is the journey of self-control, right? So, in that self-control, women also have that same journey, right? And you have to have control in order to use self-control. If you don't have control, you can't do self-control. So if a woman has to hand all of her control to a man, she doesn't have any self-control, does she? She has no rights over her life. She doesn't even have the vote to change it in your world.
I think it's the best.
But you have to overcome this biological need to have your bloodline extended. Like, you care more, I bet, Andrew, about your bloodline being extended than your daughter living a happy, healthy life. Now, I would obviously love for my daughter to have children one day, but if she didn't, as long as she lived a happy, healthy life, that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. There are other people out there with the same DNA in their body that was put into my body. My brother has a child. I have cousins. I have relatives with children. Like, it's not like my family's going to die out. There's 100,000 people with the surname Pope all over the world. And that's not including my mother's maiden name, which is Robinson. Sadly, one of them's just been in the news for killing Charlie Kirk, sadly. Fucking Doylem, making the Robinson family look bad. And, I don't know how many of them, but they make very good juice, the orange juice, Robinsons. But, it's just, yeah. I don't understand how he thinks that would create a better world for his daughter when it won't. What he really cares about is his genes being extended, which is why he's had so many kids, by the way. Like, that's why he's had so many children, because he's a slave to his biological coding. He is a slave to his programming. He is the very drone he was speaking about earlier. Maybe it was in part 1 of this video. If you're watching part 2, it's in part 1.
Thing for their happiness. I think it's the best thing for society, because this conversation could go on for 6 hours. There's many things you don't know, but the only reason these savages
There's many things you don't know, Andrew Tate, as well. I can tell you that right now.
Many
Many
things in the
things.
first place is because in the Western world, the native people have stopped reproducing, and that is a conversation which is 3 hours long about all the reasons why.
It's because they don't have to reproduce. I mean, if you create a world where people don't have to fight to survive, they won't fight to survive. If you create a world where nobody had to steal to survive, nobody would steal to survive. And if you create a world where a woman doesn't have to give birth to be looked after by a man, they will eventually be a woman who doesn't think she wants a child because she already has a man who takes care of her and she likes and loves, and they both don't want kids. They're happy already with their life and they're just getting on with it. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You don't have to have children. As much as it's a fantastic, wonderful thing, and I would recommend it, it's just, you don't have to do it. You don't have to be a slave to your biological programming when it comes to what is expected of you in terms of biology. Just because you're expected to grow up, have a child, and sort of thing, doesn't mean that's what you have to do. There are people who can't do it. Literally, they can't have children, some men and women. So there has to be other things, there has to be. You can't just, that's not the whole reason of life. But if you want human life to continue, some of us are going to need to keep having babies, yes. But there's always going to be straight people who want to have sex, so that's never going to be a problem. It's just, there's not now enough young people to look after how many old people there are. That's the only issue.
White people don't have babies anymore. GDP is all made up. The Ponzi scheme, which is pension,
GDP is not made up. You just don't understand economics, you bellend.
is about to collapse. We now have to import a whole bunch of psychopathic third worlders, and people are going to get stabbed and die for it.
Oh, but you never mentioned the psychopaths before there was a race element. Awfully suspicious there. I think it must be very difficult when you're a mixed-raced man, because we all have daddy issues, don't we? We've all got daddy issues, and some men are mummy's boys as well. So, if you've got daddy issues, and your dad's a black man, and you've got mummy issues, and your mum's white, you'll end up inevitably with a confliction of race issues, because you'll have support and criticism of the black community, and support and criticism of the white community, because you're carrying both races' problems. So inevitably, you'll have this internal turmoil with yourself that you can't get to the bottom of because you're mixed race, and so you end up sounding racist against both black people and white people, most likely.
So what I will do, because I will do my very best to try and contribute to society by every metric, is encourage my daughters to find a man they love and have as many children as they possibly can. That's what I'll encourage my daughters to do.
And what if one of them wants to
job? To have kids that need to be alive.
What if one of them wants to go out and work?
Past 8 o'clock because Dad says so.
And what if one of your girls says, "Hey, Dad, can I go out and get a job?" Your answer is no, is it?
My answer is, why do you need a job?
No, your answer would be no, right? Just to be clear.
My answer would be convince me, but most likely no. But maybe they can convince me. Maybe they can say we need to save the turtles.
And if they say, I want to have a right to vote in my country, your answer. If your daughters say, and if your daughters say they want to vote,
the answer would be no.
And if your daughters,
what's so tragic, Pierce?
And if
you know what's so tragic about this case we're not talking about? The majority of women who ran away from Ukraine ended up in Dubai as a sugar baby to a millionaire. This poor girl tried to do the right thing. She's the only one who wasn't chasing money. She wasn't the only one being a sugar baby. She wasn't the only one selling herself. She went to...
That's it. Distract away from the fact that you would remove your daughter's rights to vote to try and make yourself out to be the protector of this victim woman. Why do you people out there think you can leverage these situations in a conversation so frivolously and it would be overlooked? I'm sorry, this isn't the 90s anymore. You can't pull this shit without people noticing because you're on video. We can pause it and look. You pivoted.
They can convince me. Maybe they can say we need to save the turtle.
And if they say, I want to have a right to vote in my country, your answer. If your daughters say, and if your daughters say they want to vote,
the answer would be no.
And if your daughters,
what's so tragic, Pierce? You know what's so tragic about this case we're not talking about? The majority of women who ran away from Ukraine ended up in Dubai as a sugar baby to a millionaire. This poor girl tried to do the right thing. She's the only one who wasn't chasing money. She wasn't the only one being a sugar baby. She wasn't the only one selling herself. She went to a terrible part of America, North Carolina. I don't know why she's there of all cities. And she's working in a pizza parlor, making minimum...
Hey. I'm sure there's lovely parts of North Carolina. I'm sure there is. You just let us know in the comments. I'm sure there is.
Minimum wage, probably trying to retain her dignity and respect instead of selling out to some rich guy. And she gets stabbed in the neck. We are forcing women into basic prostitution now because they can't have a job. Why do all these women do OnlyFans? They can't go out and have a job. Why?
A lot of them don't want a job. They would rather sit at home on a webcam showing people their butthole than go and getting greasy in a kitchen somewhere. I mean, some of them are making a lot of money doing it, and I don't blame them, but prostitution is one of the oldest jobs in human history. And women don't always get forced into prostitution. Some of them do it as a lifestyle choice. Literally, some of them do it as a lifestyle choice. Just to feel desired. Just to feel wanted.
Why do all these women share rich men? They can't go out and have a job. Why do all these women move to Dubai? They can't go out and have a job. If you're a pretty girl in Memphis, Tennessee, you can't work at a pizza parlor. You can't go out.
You can't work at a pizza parlor.
Outside. You can't walk down the street.
You can't walk down the street.
You can't get a taxi.
What? You can't get a taxi. You American viewers, you let me know how my American accent was. Y'all come back now, you hear?
It's a load of crap.
The seventh girlfriend to a millionaire. Do OnlyFans.
What a load of absolute crap.
Have a rich father.
And by the way,
how destroyed our society.
By the way, in regards to this Ukrainian girl who sadly died. Sorry for calling her Russian. Ukrainian girl who was murdered on the bus. there has been some absolutely beautiful murals painted on the side of buildings for her, and Elon Musk is helping fund people who are doing it. So check those murals out. They are absolutely stunning, and it is fantastic to see humans uniting over such a tragic thing. Although there is such tragedy, you must all understand there is light even in death. The death of a good soul can unite a lot of bad ones and turn them good.
How could you?
Society is so
Sorry.
rich. Women can't even work jobs.
Sorry.
anymore.
Forgive
That's
me.
what's so sad about
Okay,
this
stop
poor girl, 'cause
talking.
She was doing the
Stop
right thing.
talking. Forgive me, but irony just died. Are you really lambasting people for doing OnlyFans when you ran a webcam operation?
He did! He literally ran a prostitution ring with webcam girls and tried to get blokes to do it themselves. And he was like the head of the pyramid. It was a pyramid scheme. So they would make money off the women making money. And then they sent him part of the cut for doing it under his brand. It was a pyramid scheme of prostitution. He is absolutely the biggest hypocrite on the planet.
I didn't lambast. I said that's what they're going to do.
Right.
Because women are not safe to do
But you
anything
literally paid them to do a similar thing on webcam.
else. 10 years ago, I had a webcam company,
Yeah,
correct.
so you literally
I'm not
did the
saying
same
women
thing.
I'm not anti-OnlyFans.
That's
I'm
how you
explaining
employed
to you
women.
that women cannot work.
He's literally exploited women. And he's talking about how to protect them from being exploited. Oh, this has been the best reaction video, Pierce, I have ever done. I hope you watch this. This has been the very best reaction video I have ever done. I have never laughed so much at a reaction video. This is fucking hilarious. He is... I feel a bit sorry for him because he has a mental health problem, but he doesn't know it. And he will never accept it because he has this mental health problem. It's like this one time I was in a mental health ward, right? And I was talking to this patient. And they said to me how the government was out. They thought the government was after them. And I looked at them and I was like, well, the government was after you. They got you. That's why you're here in a government facility. Like, it was just really funny because it was a delusion until they actually came and got him.
Jobs anymore. This is why nightlife has died. Women don't go out anymore.
No, nightlife has died because of the price of living. The cost of, like, if you want to go to a nightclub in England, right, and buy a beer, you're talking like double the price, triple the price of buying it at a shop and drinking it in the comfort of your own home. People have just fallen out of love with that sort of lifestyle. It's for the teenagers. It's for the young people. People in their 30s and their 40s and people who are older, they want to sit in a nice comfortable chair with a nice drink and be entertained. Alright? They don't want to fucking sit somewhere where they can't hear anyone, the music's too loud and everything's overpriced and everyone's been a dick to each other. Right? That's not what we want. You kind of grow out of that, you know? You kind of grow out of it.
You know why London has absolutely no nightlife? What girl?
When the price of drinks is why London has no nightlife. It's probably like £20 for a pint of beer or something. Like, I can get a pint of beer around here for about £3 in a pub. Maybe £4 in a pub, right? But if I go to the shops, it's probably like £1 for a pint of beer in a can, right? But if I go to London for a pint, fucking £20. £20 for a beer. That's like 2 hours work, that is, for a minimum wage job. Are you having a laugh?
When were you last out in London?
On a Thursday night, is going to walk around at 2 a.m.
When were you
in high
last
heels
out
and
in
short
London?
skirt. None. The whole city is
When
gone.
were you last out in
America's
London?
The same.
Last time I was in London was in 2000 and I reckon 9. King's Cross Station. Bought a pint of cider at the pub by the station, and it was nearly £12, and I nearly fainted. Couldn't believe it. For £12 for a pint. I could have bought 4 bottles of Frosty Jacks for that. Daylight robbery it was.
People aren't going to meet anymore.
I was
Our
out in
entire
London the other
societies
day.
are gone.
It was
The pub
packed
is
with
gone.
people,
Birth rate's
including
down. Nobody
many
does
women.
anything but sits inside on their phone, and it's because the streets are running with blood.
What?
Really? Well, I was out in London the other day, packed with people having a good time, including many women, most of whom
Good.
will find your views utterly ridiculous.
And I can't wait to show it to them. I can't wait to show all the women how this man, who not only blamed victims of rape for rape, wants to remove the rights of women to vote and thinks they shouldn't be allowed to work, but also, on top of that, he thinks all the problems the world is facing at the minute is caused because of women being allowed to vote. It's got nothing to do with any men. Oh no, it couldn't possibly be the men. We have nothing to do with it, fellas. Even though we control every army, every nation on the planet, and have done for like centuries, apart from maybe a queen here or there, the odd female leader of a party who became prime minister, the majority of every leader of every country in every planet, every country in the planet has been a male. But no, we couldn't possibly be responsible for things going wrong. It's the women. Fucking hell, this is almost like comedy to me. How's he saying this with a straight face?
Utterly
not
Dickensian and ridiculous.
Who's not obsessed?
A woman's place is at home, no vote, no job, no power. But you, Andrew Tate, believe that's the way to protect them and to save women for the world. What a joke.
I believe if we were to bring up an electoral map
What a joke. I hope young men,
no, this is your chance
I hope young men who watch this interview realise the emperor wears no clothes.
I hope as well. Like, all the men who think Andrew Tate's like this really good guy, or these young men out there, all you boys, right? Coming from my father, right? I'm a 35-year-old man. You might not think much of me. I don't really care what you think about me, to be fair, right? But understand this. He wants to make it so that your girlfriend can't work. So that means whose money are they going to use for everything? Well, it's going to be yours. So that means every drink, every meal, everything you ever pay for, a woman was also going to require that same thing. And she's not, he thinks she shouldn't be allowed to work and pay her own way. So she shouldn't be allowed to buy you an Xbox. That's what he's saying. He's saying women shouldn't be allowed to work hard at Pizza Hut and buy you a PlayStation. That's what he's saying, lads. Get him. Get him. I'm joking. Don't violently attack Andrew Tate. I'm joking. Do not violently attack him, right? I'm joking, okay? Fucking hell. I know there's one lunatic out there, mate. Fucking hell.
Because actually all you want to do is subjugate women.
Only men vote, and let's see if it's Democratic or Republican.
Only men vote.
Democratic, liberal, left-leaning, or Republican.
Only men
only
vote.
Votes the American continent.
I
Please
want
bring
young
it up
men.
I
want young men to watch this interview. I want them to watch it back several times and understand that actually underpinning your whole shtick is brazen, really damaging misogyny.
Yeah, he thinks women are not capable. He basically, Andrew Tate's entire belief is that women are not as capable as men. And as a result of that, he builds up all these arguments on top of that. Because a woman isn't capable of defending herself, she needs a man. Because a woman isn't capable of going to and from a job by herself, she needs a man. She can't work. Because women aren't capable of making decisions that help the world and make it a better place, they shouldn't be allowed the right to vote. So he believes women are incapable and builds up all these delusions because he can't accept the fundamental delusion that women actually are capable. Like, he believes they aren't capable, but women are capable. If women aren't capable, right, how is it that, they raise families, they have children, they work jobs. Some of them even have children who have children who have children. I've seen photos where there's 5 generations of females. You've got the great-grandmother, the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and the new baby or whatever, right? Literally, how could these women not be capable? Are you having a fucking laugh? Women have had to deal with men just as long as men have had to deal with men. So yes, they are capable. And I agree that they are capable in different ways. Yes. But to think they are less capable than men is misogyny. That is very much misogyny. That is what it is. That's why everyone thinks you're a misogynist, Andrew Tate, because you are. You think women are less capable than men, and the truth is, they're not. Sure, a woman is not as capable at lifting something heavy as a man, but a man, on average, is not as capable at understanding something emotionally as a woman. So fuck you, Andrew Tate. Fuck you and your bullshit.
You are a terrible misogynist. And that is the truth. And you may pretend you're not, even maybe to yourself. But when you talk about the way you want to subjugate women, no vote, no job, no power, but you, Andrew Tate, will take control of them and take charge and protect them. Do me a bloody favour.
This is why he'll never be Prime Minister. You could never be Prime Minister if you're going to remove the rights of women to vote. It's never going to happen. Because all the men in this country, we love our women. Our wives, our daughters. Some of us have nicer mothers than the others. My mother's not that bad, to be fair. But love's a bit of a stretch, you know. I do love you, really, man, but history and all that.
Why would any
My
woman
daughter
want to do
has
that?
no vote, no power, listens to daddy, does everything I say. She's alive, well, and drives a Bentley. Let me tell you something.
Drives a Bentley, yeah. But is she happy? Is she free?
Something, Pierce. I've asked you many single questions. I've asked you many questions on this interview, and you answered absolutely none of them for a reason.
My job is the
You
interviewer.
are
I ask the questions. You
complaining
don't.
about the vote. Bring up an electoral map of men only voting in America. Let's look if men are voting for these soft on crime, open border policies of the Democrats, or if men are voting Republican. Prove me wrong. This is your chance, Mr. Piers Morgan.
Every time he has, you've just denied it. That's your problem, Andrew Tate. You don't accept when people do prove you wrong. I know it's difficult. People prove me wrong all the time. It's just, it's not easy, you know?
Legend of the legacy
You're
media,
mistaking
Mr.
me.
Smartass.
You're
Pull up a
mistaking
map,
me.
prove
You're
me
mistaking
wrong.
me for a fellow misogynist, and I'm
No,
not.
you don't want to prove me right, sir. But
I don't
everyone
have
already
to-
knows
I don't
I'm
have
right.
to prove
Every
you
other
right
time
or
you've ever
wrong.
spoken.
People
Every
could-
single time.
people have
the comment
heard you.
section is nothing but
People-
decimation of your
Peop-
decimation
Okay.
of the little.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I think Piers Morgan's a bit of a knob sometimes, and I'm sure he thinks I am as well. Truth is, Piers, I am. I'm a part-time dickhead. You're fully correct. But most of the time, I'm actually a very nice man, and I'm sure you are most of the time as well. And I know full well, even though I disagree with most Tories in this country and their political things, right? But I know for a fine fact they would all of them agree with me that women should have the right to vote. Like, it's insanity to think that women shouldn't have the right. It's absolute insanity. Absolute insanity.
Bit of legacy you have left. A little bit
People,
of-
Although I have heard women say it as well, to be fair. I think I even have an ex-partner who said it once. And said, well, I didn't want the right to vote. I didn't fight for that. I was just like, well, fucking whatever. Crazy bitch.
credibility that you've
people
retained.
will watch. Well, we'll see how your credibility fares after your court cases, right? And like I say,
Same as it did in Romania.
like I say, I
Same
haven't-
as it did in Romania.
I don't know the
I am
out-
innocent. I am the victim of a deep state
I think it's
attack
gonna
by the
be
British
very,
Foreign Office.
very-
No, if you were a real journalist, if you were a real journalist, Pierce, if you were a real journalist,
Pretty sure he is a real journalist. He worked at ITV as a news presenter, anchor, and he also was. He worked at the Daily Mail as a columnist, as an actual proper journalist. He was in court cases involving hacking of royal member, I think Harry's phone, his voicemails. Even though he denied being involved and having any knowledge of it, his superiors said all the editors did know, and he was one of the editors. I don't know, like him, if you're guilty or not, if he was guilty or not. But I also believe ignorance is not an excuse for criminal behaviour. So just because he wasn't aware about the hacking of the phone scandal doesn't mean he shouldn't have been held as complicit within it. And I don't believe he was excused from his behaviour within it as well. But that's another subject for another matter. I honestly believe that Piers Morgan would not remove the rights of women. And, well, did he know about the hacking things? Probably, Piers. He probably did. But you were trying to keep up with your lifestyle at the time, I imagine. That's what happens with a lot of you rich guys. You start doing a lot of shady things and lose your principles by trying to maintain this lavish lifestyle that you built up for yourselves. Because you reach a certain point of spending where you need to either earn more money or spend less. And you lot choose to try and earn more instead of spend less. Even poor people have this problem when they get money.
I just told you that the British Foreign Office wrote to another sovereign nation declaring me a national security threat and asking them to get me off the internet. Don't you think you should have asked a single question about that?
We did.
How I know it? What proof I have? Is it on paper? Why did they do that? Is that legal? Why were you in jail without charges? 4 years locked in your house, never convicted. You never even went to court. If you were a real journalist, you would have asked me 20 questions. And you know what? I told you that. I told you something breaking, that the British Foreign Office broke international law, just like they did with Julian Assange. And you...
The UK government broke the law when they charged me, Andrew Tate, but you're not fucking trying to stand up for me, so... I hope your court case gets the correct and truthful result. It's what I hope.
You didn't care.
Something I was never afforded.
Because you are an establishment figure. All you are is a figurehead for the Matrix itself. You don't care about the truth.
The Matrix, ooh. I'm even wearing glasses like the Matrix.
You say what you're supposed to say.
The beauty of what
you
you've
say
just...
what you're supposed to say.
The beauty of this interview is that you've revealed the truth about yourself. You just don't even really realise it, or maybe you do.
Yeah, I don't think he's realised it, but I already knew he was a misogynist, but I didn't really have much concrete proof. But now, there's no doubt in my mind. There's literally no doubt in my mind. He's a full-blown, 100% fundamentalist misogynist, okay? That's one. And he's way too defensive about the allegations rather than open. And for me, because I was wrongly charged of the crime I was actually innocent of, and I've now proved it with evidence, but they're yet to deal with it, sort of thing. If someone was to ask me about it, I would go through the details with it. I might get a little defensive because it's a sore subject, but I would go through how I was innocent. I wouldn't sidetrack or deflect or avoid it. I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I would try and give them the truth so that it debunked them, so to speak. I wouldn't even expect them to believe me either, because I know what people are like. But I'd still tell them anyway.
And you don't care. But everyone watching this can now see you laid bare as a brazen misogynist, somebody who wants to remove all women's rights. And I say that makes you a dangerous misogynist with an unhealthy influence over young men. And they should watch this interview and understand very clearly.
I will make sure some of them do, Piers. Not many, but some of them will.
That actually women should have the right to vote. They should have the right to work. They should have the right to hold positions of power. And that your kind of misogyny is actually taking us back 150 years to a place where women stayed at home
should have the right
and had
to ride
children
the subway
and took
without
care
being
of their
stabbed
man.
in the neck.
And if we went back to that
women
far...
should have the right to go outside without being raped by...
Every time he's corrected, every time he goes on these tirades, he's got bipolar. I honestly think a psychologist needs to help him. There must be some psychologist out there who can help Andrew Tate. At least, you know, it might shut him up.
World
you know what? The vast majority of women do go outside without that happening to them.
The man they're having kids with can earn enough money to pay for the family. Women have more important rights than being psyoped by the media into caring about abortion, watching...
In case people don't know what a psyop is, it's a psychological operation where you convince an entire group of people of a certain psychological element that may or may not be true, so that you can use it to control them and do what you want them to do. It's called a psychological operation. That's what PSYOP is short for, just in case no one knew, right?
Too much Sex in the City and voting in a whole bunch of psychopaths who stab fellow women on the bus.
Right. Andrew Tate, appreciate you coming back on Uncensored. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, thank you very much for the content, Piers Morgan. Thank you very much for your content, Andrew Tate. I hope you both watch this, because I could help you both. Wouldn't even charge you money. I'd do it for free. I'm nice. Have a nice day. Bye.